Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is the Into Deep podcast. My guest today is Mr. Samuel Dreyfus. He is a provisional psychologist, self-proclaimed ruthless optimist, founder of the Unofficial Run Club. And I first came across Sam, I thought it was a lot longer ago, but we just had a conversation. His social media only started blowing up recently, but I was doing my usual scroll and I did not expect to be basically crying on like a random Tuesday morning. His content's very moving, very emotional. I explored it a little bit more. He's a very deep thinker and I just really wanted to have him on the show. So I'm super excited to have you on today, my friend.
Thank you very much for having me, my brother.
So we'd like to start it into deep, very deep. All right, first question. Who is Samuel Dreyfus?
I've been thinking about this for like the last 2 or 3 days, hey, like pretty deeply. Do you want the short version or the long version?
Let's go long.
The first sentence that came to mind when you messaged me that, right, was like, I'm someone that's lived many different lives and all of them which have felt like mistakes, but it's kind of turned out okay. But I'm 33, clinical. I'm to be a clinical psychologist. Finish my clinical master's program in about 2 months, roughly 2 months of work. Been studying for 8 years, and kind of took the long way around in figuring out kind of who I was and what I wanted out of my life. And I've, asked for help along the way and been fortunate enough to have been given it, So I just want to be that for other people.
Okay. I love that, my man. And so how did you end up, you mentioned you've had many stories and I saw your Instagram, lots of different jobs, lots of different things leading to this path. So what are some of the things that have led you to where you are today, studying, you're almost a provisional psychologist. So and just to be clear to everyone, he has finished 8 years of arduous study, I'd imagine. Yeah. And you are now seeing face-to-face clients.
Yeah, I've been seeing clients for like 2 years. So as soon as you begin provisional registration, you're pretty much doing the same role as a psychologist under extra supervision. You just can't claim the Medicare rebate. Okay. So clients see me at a reduced fee that is commensurate with that. Okay.
Tell me how your path led you here.
Yeah, look, I just kept trying, man. Like I think you look back on the things that got you to where you are today, and at the time they always feel like errors. You never quite feel like you're getting it right. And I think the thing I know to be true is that the only real failure is kind of remaining stagnant. So you finished school, had no idea what I wanted to do, had a family of people saying, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? Scared the crap out of me. For my whole life, I had always had so much to say, but never really felt like it was worthy of being heard. I could talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles. And I finished school, had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do, like mucked around for a bit, was going to be a builder, started studying building because I had a family member in building that I looked up to. I thought, well, that'd be great. Like he's got money and cars and all that stuff. And I kind of pivoted and realized that I didn't want to work with my hands. I was understimulated. Not that I didn't want to work with my hands, actually. I loved woodwork. And it was my favorite subject at school for 6 years, built lots of different things. And then I finished school and was just in this chaotic state that everybody's in, like feeling like the weight of every decision is irreversible. And I got a job labouring, carpenter's labourer, building, went to TAFE, did a year and a bit of going to be like getting a builder's license and all of that, and didn't want that. So I went to hospitality because my old man was like, you can, speak forever. You may as well go and be social. And I kind of found a bit of a sweet spot. It was super scary. Obviously first like waiting tables and getting to know people and presenting myself well. I never really thought of myself. Up until the age of kind of 20, I never really thought I'd make it there. And then worked in hospitality, was trained as like a white glove waiter. So fine dining, steps of service, which was really enjoyable. It taught me how to speak to strangers, be uncomfortable, present myself well. And I really enjoyed that for a number of years. I thought I was going to open restaurants and bars, met some beautiful people. Like some of those jobs that you do early in life, at the time you think, God, what a waste. Like I don't want to do this forever. But one of the girls that comes to the Run Club, Sissy now, we used to wait tables 13 years ago, beautiful girl who is, shout out, actually running the Boston Marathon next year, going for like a 2:30 marathon, like incredible, right? So I went into hospitality and was like, had no idea what I wanted to do. And the only thought I remember having between kind of 15 and 25 is like, what the hell am I going to do with my life that would make this experience of life that everybody speaks so highly of worthwhile? And I genuinely don't remember having other thoughts. Like I would just beat myself up. My 20s were just like all chaos internally. Like, what am I doing? This is meaningless. Like, it's not my thing. What's my passion? And I think I did a video on this. Like, I would have paid money for someone to just hand me psychology, hand me the passion or the purpose on the table, because it was just so conflicting. So I worked in hospitality for years, opened up a chain of restaurants, met many beautiful people, and at one point came back from a stint overseas. I think it was in Central America for like 8 months, and realized I just didn't want to work for the man anymore. I wanted to do something more meaningful. So I stumbled into, like, looking back on it, there are no steps backwards. Like there are, if you listen, you realize, oh, I loved working with my hands outdoors at building, was understimulated by the people that I was working with and mentally drained, and I'm like, that's not enough for me. So I liked the people element and I hated the manual labor element. So I'm like, I'm going to go do something where I'm using my hands or whatever. And then I moved into, so I didn't want to work for the man anymore, and moved into like just volunteering at a school for disabled children. I worked at a school called Giant Steps, which is like probably the biggest school for children with autism and young adults with autism in Sydney, and loved the company of kids. Like it felt like play. It felt like I could just be myself, have fun, and somehow that would be of benefit to others. So I volunteered there for a couple of months, then ended up staying there for 5 years. Really hard work, like kids with neurodevelopmental disorders, not so much physical disabilities, but neurological disorders and disabilities. And was, again, like loved playing with the kids, loved going to the playground, being a beacon of energy. Like one of my best memories is like being on a trampoline with the entire primary school on the trampoline. Like there's 15 kids on the trampoline, and it's like, I remember you see kids that like 60 or 70% of the school is nonverbal. So you're using picture folders, using iPads, teaching kids to talk. So the work that you're doing is like immediately rewarding. And I thought, God, that's like, I feel viscerally rewarded by the fact that these kids' lives are improving. Yeah. So it was, positive elements and negative elements, obviously. And you see, get a kid that doesn't speak to anyone, is extremely isolated, will never maintain eye contact for more than a few seconds, and is extremely timid. And he sees 14 other kids on a trampoline just having the time of their life, like bouncing around like jelly beans. I'm playing like two little monkeys, and this kid gets closer. All the other teachers are like, keep going. Like, he's going to interact with someone. Like, he doesn't do this. He's been there a year. He doesn't talk to anyone. Closer. I'm like, do you want to go on the trampoline? He's like, yeah. And the next thing you know, like, I've got the whole primary school on a trampoline jumping around, like just getting to be a big idiot, wasn't pretending to be anything, didn't pretend to be, I wasn't a psychologist at the time, I wasn't studying anything. And you realize like, oh, like there is impact that can be had by just being myself. And worked at school. It was fantastic. Developed some really beautiful relationships. Was really inspired by some of the older women at the school. Some of the like matriarchs of the school that were just like directing it so well. And one of them convinced me like, you'd be a great teacher. I thought, God, that'd be really good. Like maybe I'll go and be a teacher and then help these kids. And then again, learning point, realize like I don't want to be in the same room with 6 to 20 kids for the same period every day. I kind of get bored. Like as an ADHD individual, I got a diagnosis at 9, so. I started studying teaching, did a year of teaching, had to do a pathway program to get into university because my HSC marks were so poor. So like every moment you think like, God, I'm a failure, like this is not right. And then you just start trusting your gut a little bit more, and I pivoted. I think I kind of delayed studying psychology, which I knew I wanted to do for years. I just thought I was too stupid. I told myself for about 8 years, like I had girlfriends that had started and finished the degree. They said statistics is really hard, like it's a labor intensive course, it's super competitive. And in my head I was like, God, I'm way too dumb for that.
Yeah. What was the turning point when you were like, I can do this?
I got through the tertiary pathway program, which was like prepare for uni. It was like 6 months. I still got some really good friends that I did that with. And I did my first assignments, like my first 4 units of assignments for teaching. And I remember breaking down at the fact that somebody else in this world deemed my work to be of high distinction. And every thought that I had about being like insufficient or incapable kind of fell away, realizing that if I can put in a marginal amount of work and somebody else thinks that's worthwhile and that's going to get me through, like, well, why don't we just keep trying that and trying again?
Yeah.
I pivoted to psychology because I had bolstered up my confidence in the
So
academic
that HD
world.
was like the light bulb moment for you to be like,
Yeah.
I can fucking do this.
Yeah, like it's so, most of the pain that we experience is in our own head, and nothing is ever as bad or as good as it seems. But we tell ourselves these stories of, defeat or inability, and they become the narrative, that sits in the back of our mind all the time until it's so funny, like it takes someone else to, I don't know, pat us on the back or lift us up a little bit, and then we're moving.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I didn't even put that much work into that, and she thought that was great, and I liked her.
Yeah.
She was a really good teacher. So yeah, I moved into psychology and was just hooked by the content. Like I was so incredibly, I love neuroscience, love psychopharmacology, loved everything to do with and I suppose it's a bit of self-exploration too. Like you're wondering why you are the way you are and the people in your life and how they operate. Every time someone figures out I'm a psychologist, they're just like, are you psychoanalyzing me? Like I was going to do psychology. I'm like, go do it. Like you find out more about yourself. Like the purpose is not to get to the end and be a psychologist. Like you learn more about yourself in the process than anything else.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward 8 years.
Yeah.
So you had that aha moment, 8 years under your belt now of studying psychology. What would you say is your biggest takeaway from your time studying?
The biggest takeaway is that a paradigm that everybody should be taught at school from year 5, and that is, it's called the cognitive triangle. And it's from CBT, which I know has a very bad juju out in the world because of its rigidity, especially with neurodiverse individuals. But the fact of the matter is that you have thoughts, and there's a situation that you're experiencing, right, that influences some thoughts that you have in your head. So, you worry about going to school the next day, and the thoughts come up that I'm not good enough, I'm fat, they're going to pick on me for what I'm wearing, they're going to blame me for my lunch, I haven't done my homework, teacher's going to kick me out, like whatever the ruminative thoughts are, the negative thoughts that just automatically pop into your head. And then all of a sudden you've got a head full of shit thoughts. Can I swear on this? You swear?
Yeah, of course.
And we've got a head full of shit thoughts. And then when we have a head full of shit thoughts, we feel, how do you feel? How do you expect? Like you feel terrible in your body. So we go from linking thoughts that are entirely non-self-serving and just apparent, like they just appear in your mind, and all of a sudden your body is responding in a way like I'm in danger, or like this is true, or I'm uncomfortable. And then because of these feelings in our body that make us that elicit a sense of fear, or sadness, or like a fight or flight response if it's anxiety, or if it's sadness or depression or whatever, we then take those experiences or those feelings of experiences as truth and as fact, and then we behave in a way that either upregulates behaviors that aren't good for us or downregulates behaviors that are bad for us. Sorry, upregulates behaviors that are bad for us, and we downregulate behaviors that are good for us. So when you're thinking like shit and you're feeling like shit, what are you doing? You're like isolating, you're not socializing, you're eating junk food, you're not opening the blinds in the morning, you're sleeping in, you're maybe using substances and alcohol. And then the next time you come to a situation where these thoughts come up, your memory bank is filled with experiences of when you avoided a certain scenario and you did things that made you feel worse, but they were relieving in the short term. And then the only reference model you have to go off is I left that situation because it was uncomfortable and unsafe. So that must be true. And then we get stuck in the cycle of never really questioning our beliefs. I can't remember who it was. I think it's Hormozy, but it was from a guy called Felix, someone who said, we question all of our beliefs except those we truly believe in and those we never think to question. So we just kind of take this bag of goodies that just appear in our mind and the experiences of our past that hold so much weight because of the stories we tell ourselves, and we just allow them to be true. And at some point along this 8-year journey, I realized that I can just wipe the floor with all of that, and I could be more than I am. And now we're here.
Yeah. And so how do you, because that sort of reminds me of limiting beliefs, right? So I was first exposed to this, I was circa 2015, I went to Tony Robbins, right? He says, he's very big on, what are your limiting beliefs? I never thought about that. Not smart enough, not good enough.
Yeah.
These are some of my big ones. And then you sort of implant new empowering beliefs.
Yeah.
Is it as simple as that, as being aware of your limiting beliefs and then coming up with new empowering beliefs to replace that? Or what's your advice to overcome that?
Yeah. I mean, the story has weight. It doesn't matter whether or not, it doesn't matter what the story is, right? But the fact of the matter is, if we take a cognitive behavioral approach, there's probably evidence for and against those beliefs, or there's evidence for or against those thoughts. So I'm stupid. I can't go to university. I'm too dumb. And I'm like, what's the evidence for that? Well, I failed the HSC. I'm like, all right, it's a pretty big one, But what are the things that I have done well in my life that I've overcome that are contrary to those beliefs. And that's a cognitive behavioral approach, is that we challenge thoughts, which I think is actually really beneficial, especially for concrete thinkers. So people with autism or autism spectrum disorder, who genuinely think in more concrete terms, utilizing a really grounded approach to what are the facts, what are the facts, rather than how does this serve me? That's probably a bit more abstract. But like, what are the facts in this situation that either confirm or deny what's going on? You can just replace the thought. And that actually does help. Not for everybody. I think it's probably, CBT has a lot of research, but that's because it's easily studied. Some of the more experiential or ephemeral approaches of the second or third wave therapies like ACT or DBT that were born out of CBT.
Yeah.
DBT is actually more skills-based, but like acceptance and commitment therapy, which I'm sure you're familiar with, right, it's not so much about challenging the thought, but accepting the fact that it's there and then choosing behavior that's different. So when I talk about the triangle, the cognitive triangle, like there are skills at the thought level, which we can challenge or we can accept. There are skills at the feelings level, which is we can learn to tolerate the discomfort and act in a different way anyway. Or we can do mindfulness practices or embodying practicing or like somatic therapies to reduce distress and learn to act in the face of discomfort. And then there's behavioural approaches, which are probably the best, probably the strongest.
Okay.
But there's so many tools out there. It's almost like just start with one.
Yeah.
So
tell me about a behavioural approach. So let's say you have the disempowering belief of I'm not smart enough. Like you going to uni, starting a business, whatever.
Yeah, right. So we need to teach everybody about this, right? And that's called the behavioural activation theory of depression. And I'm probably going to get cancelled for this, but most depression is not genetic. Like treatment-resistant depression is actually far more the exception than the rule. And it's actually like insomnia too. There's a lot of behavioural elements here. So if we take the belief that like I'm not smart enough and we're feeling like we're dumb and that we're not going to be able to do things, the behavioural approach is to do something that instills a sense of joy or mastery or pleasure. So if I'm looking to upregulate experiences that instill those beliefs, that kind of counteract those beliefs. So what can I do that would make me feel a sense of joy or a sense of mastery or pleasure? So if I'm really depressed, the belief that I have is that the core tenets of depression are, this is terrible, it's my fault, and it's always going to be this way. Or like the self and the external focus. So like it's always going to be this way, it's always going to be terrible, and I'm the consequence, or I'm the cause of that. So how do we build evidence in a stepwise fashion that proves to you are capable of some things? So sometimes I have clients and the goal for 3 weeks is to open the blinds, and they think that's so humiliating. And I'm like, have you tried it? Like, what about opening? If you don't open the blinds at all, and you don't make your bed, and you're peeing in a cup next to the bed, which some people do when they're so dark. Yeah. What about opening the blinds isn't a win? And I think it's a Jordan Peterson idea, but like if you're not winning regularly enough, like if you don't feel like you're winning regularly enough, you're not aiming low enough, because it doesn't matter what you're doing with your life. And an example I use with one of the best examples I use with young kids is like, if I asked you to do 2 things between now and next week that would make your life worse, you absolutely could come up with things like that. Like in a heartbeat, start doing drugs and smoking, I'd fight with my parents.
Sleeping in, porn, yeah.
Yeah, like heaps of porn, like whatever, especially for young men at the moment. I would do things that would further disenfranchise me. It's so much harder to do the opposite. But the idea of behavioural activation is like, if I'm too stupid to do something, how do we get you in experiences that make you feel capable and competent? And then you build a small memory bank of things that make you feel like you could achieve something, or you have achieved something, and there's hard evidence there for it. And then we gradually expose you to things that make you feel more capable. And like the exposure therapy is unfortunately, it is like, there's so much garbage research out there, and there's a replication crisis in psychology, which I'm sure you're aware of. Like I think 75% of all psychological research is unreplicable, which says that like we do things once and can't do them again. So how solid are they? That's why meta-analyses and systematic reviews are so important. Yeah. But exposure therapy we know that works.
Of course.
Because as you approach things that scare you or make you feel more capable, it's not that the fear gets smaller, it's that you get bigger. And your belief in your abilities grow each time you step into something that is dark and unknown. And the spider will still be scary, but your ability to deal with that distress gets bigger and bigger every time. And the best part about that is there's no end to that. You could be more than you are forever.
Yeah. So just keep exposure therapy, right? So if you have fear of public speaking, do public speaking. The more you do it, the better you're going to get.
Right.
That's simple, right?
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because that really resonated, because I had a psychologist who talking about self-confidence and personal growth, that sort of stuff. He was sort of pitching it as kind of like a trophy cabinet, right? So you sort of put a trophy in, you look back and reflect on what did I do that was good, and then you keep building from there. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
How small are the trophies you could put on the shelf?
Correct. And then just stack them up, keep looking at the cabinet, builds your confidence, and then you go from there. Let's take a little fast forward to you. And so I'm aware that there's no such thing as an overnight success, although your social media and even your run club seems to have completely exploded. And this is years of experience to get to this point, right? So it's not a complete overnight success, but from the outsider looking in, you said 4 months ago, you had 2,000 followers. Now you have 70, 80,000 followers, getting, countless beautiful messages from people. How did that all happen?
Very slowly. And then all of a sudden, I think I want people to realize that there is no magic. I have no magic. I have no secrets. And there is nothing special about me. And I have been down and out in many ways and in less ways than others, right? Yeah. The only thing you can do is try and try again. And, the run club started with 5 of us starting to run, not because we wanted to build a community of runners, but because we were bad at running. The first time we ran over the bridge, we made it to the halfway mark of what we run now and turned around. It was like 5Ks and came home, because we were just pumped, and exposure, man. The run club is it's an outlier, right place, right time. People were, I think after COVID, people were hungry for connection and in person or in real life experiences. And it was magic. That's not that I was, but the run, we would be one of us would be standing on a park bench doing a speech, and there'd be it started with 5 of us, and then some would be like, why aren't you not at the gym on Friday? I'm like, oh, we're going running. We just post a story and oh, cool. Well, pardon me, we'll go running and come with you. And it went 5, 10, 20, 30. I remember calling a friend and being like, there was 20 people at Run Club. And she was like, 20 people? I'm like, I don't even know 20 people. And then it went 20, 40, 100, 200, 300, 500. And it was from the middle of September of 23 to, I think it was October. And at one point, I think Sondra or Chad was standing on a bench and we were doing a spiel, this is crazy. There's 200 or 300 people here. And we've got to find another place to meet because if we're all spilling onto the road. And then a train pulls up at Milson's Point at 6:05. We meet at 6:00. And 500 people get off the train. And people showing us videos of Central Station, people coming from Wollongong, people coming from Penrith, people taking trains for 2 hours to come to this run club. And there's a video of one of the guys is working on the roof of the Crown Casino. It's the start of the Crown Casino. No, it's Crown. And he zooms in 80 times and it's just a swarm of people running over the Harbour Bridge. And people were so hungry to be a part of something. And, obviously there's hype, the run club hype is so massive and everyone's got a run club. It's so great to see people out in the community just shaking hands and running miles. Yeah. But we just hit sweet spot at the right place, right time. Obviously you started putting things on Instagram, getting videographers to do things. And, we've still got a core. I think every week we probably get no less than 100. And, on the Sydney Marathon weekend, there was 2,200 people there. And there's a no dickhead policy. We don't even say it, but just I think at the start, I usually do a speech and say the only rule is keep your headphones out and keep your shirts on. Because no one, it's not about the you, it's about the arsoness of it all. And now everyone there is family. Yeah. It's been monumental. And the Instagram was the same. I think my Instagram was separate. I did my first video in, I think I looked the other day, the 17th of July. It's been 4 months. And every video that I do is not for the audience. It's for a younger version of me. And that's why I end every video with love you, because it's really beautiful that people are finding solace in the things that I'm putting out. It's not what I'm doing it for. I don't have the ability to think internally. I've never been able to sit and think. I built a startup with a friend of mine, and the worst nightmare of mine was when we'd be well, we've got this complex problem to solve. We're going to do 20 minutes of quiet time. Everyone brainstorm their own ideas and we'll come back and vote on the best solution. And I would just sit there and just have, I don't know, Lana Del Rey in my head and just I just don't do it. I can't think of I've never been able to think of, think linearly So I'll think very laterally of this idea and it goes to here. And sometimes I'll say something and I'm like, take that back. I kind of wish I didn't say that, but it has to come out of my mouth for it to for me to formulate it. That's why I talk so much, I suppose. So I just started doing pieces to camera, and then friends close to me said, like, you need to put one up. And I just thought, there's no bloody way in hell people are going to be interested in this. Like, I'm just yapping about stuff. You know, they were like 3, 4, 5 minutes to the camera in the car, have like a quad lock mount and just talk to it. And I had a video that was talking about the current state of pop psychology, just things that were annoying me that I wanted to be wary of in the future, and kind of lessons that I'd learned, and it went super viral. And that actually wasn't the big one that blew the following up. The big one was the introduction to myself, which was like, I think one of the most healing things that I've ever experienced. It was like, it was the first story I'd told about myself that was not embellished. I think my whole life I had always been like, you know, what are you earning this year? Oh, you know, exaggerate the salary. What are you doing next year? I'm going to open some restaurants. Like, I'm always going to. I'm more than I am. I'm telling you I'm going to be more, like, in this exaggerative and kind of performative manner. And I sat down at this camera one day. I think it was 10,000 followers or something from like these couple of videos that I was doing. And I just told my story as it was, not as I wanted others to see it and make me feel better than I was or anything more than I was. It was non-exaggerated. It wasn't embellished in any way. And I just shared who I was as a person and where I was in life. And I look back at the video and I'm so nervous. Like, I can see myself in the video. I'm like proper buckling that I'm actually this raw. And I think it's got 17,000 likes or something. And it also got me 17,000 followers.
Wow.
And it was like, it was the first, you asked me a question about, like, I think it was something about out there about surprise, the things that surprise you. I never believed that if I showed up exactly as I was, that would be enough. And it is.
Yeah. So that authenticity is obviously really resonating with people.
We can smell bullshit a mile away.
Yeah.
And the idea is not to be performatively authentic, right? It's just as cathartic to show up as you are in a situation and share your current vices and gripes. It's more cathartic to do that. It's super scary because then what is out there is true.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to hide. But people yearn for that. There's enough filters and bullshit and famous people with plastic in their faces and their asses making us all feel inadequate. And in my experience, most people want more humanness.
Yeah.
And the only way that we do that is by being vulnerable and saying, like, this is as I am. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. And then, like, a lot of people will be drawn to you and a lot of people will be repelled from you, and you have to be okay with that, right? That's the hardest part about it.
Like 100%, you know. But even still, like, you get thousands of comments on something and they're all incredibly positive. Like, I get messages from people being like, yeah, I sat down with my husband tonight and we watched 2 of your videos because it's something we needed to work on and it's made our relationship better. I'm like, fuck, like, what more could you want in the world, you know? That's
incredible. And so this is a great time to talk about one of these questions. I want to know about your definition of success, right? Because we're talking about like lots of followers, overnight success.
Yeah.
And I know you wouldn't identify as that being successful. So what does success look like to you?
I love Jimmy Carr's explanation of what success is. And he says it's enjoying the passage of time. And I mean, that's stolen. So that, you know, but it's great because we get so caught up on the next thing that we forget that all we ever have is really the now. And some of my most beautiful moments are sitting in a coffee shop when 10 years ago I would have felt inadequate for being there amongst the oldies when everybody else is working at 9 to 5. Now I've built a life for myself where I get to do whatever the hell I want, pretty much. And that thing is sit with people and talk about their problems. But I think my real definition of success is being able to show up exactly as you are, and for that to be enough. Because we just tie ourselves in knots trying to be what we think other people will like us for. And it's not real. And the more you wear a mask, the more you realize that it's not you that is getting the praise for that. If you wear the mask gets all the love. And the more you separate yourself from the thing you know not to be you, the times where I felt most complete are and successful are when firstly, giving my time to other people. Like I get to do that. Big storm. Showing up exactly as you are and not needing to perform, I think that's it.
And for anyone listening, because like we have so much conditioning, right? Some people don't even know themselves these days. Like, know thyself. Like, what a powerful quote. Like, how can people get to know themselves better? And so if they're listening now and they're even questioning, do I know myself? How can they explore that a little further?
Yeah, I have an exercise that I wrote that I figured out to help me figure out. Shout out to Michael Pure Oz, who had taught me about this. Loosely when I was looking for help from people that was more successful than me, that I looked up to. And one of the things that we do is like an admiration hunt or a personality heist, which is like, it's all well and good to write down the names of people that, you think you want to be like, right? But for some reason, your nervous system is pushing you in the direction and your attention is hooked on certain figures in the world. And if you want to learn more about yourself, you need to trust yourself as the vessel for answers. Whereas, I've said this so many times, I've probably listened to 10 or 20,000 hours of podcasts, like easily looking for answers in lessons that kind of weren't my own. And the only real way forward is to trust yourself for direction and rely on others for guidance. But the direction needs to come from you. And your nervous system is telling you about the things that you are interested in. You want to find out more about yourself, you need less noise. And as someone who is very good at filling their life with noise, or was very good at filling their life with noise, you will never get anywhere closer to yourself with it. Doesn't matter how inspirational the Hormozy quote is. It'll hit for 60 seconds and you will forget it. So if you want to learn about yourself more, you need to soften to the idea that what you know is true. And I think that comes about through watching what is garnering your attention. What do you look at? What inspires you? Who are the people you can't help read the books of? What characters in novels inspire you? Why are you hooked to, like, I use The Rock as an example. The Rock, everyone knows The Rock. Like, everyone loved The Rock back when he was doing his selfies in that iron paradise. Iron paradise. And I just couldn't help, 7 or 8 years ago, just watch his content. I thought, God, I love this guy. Like, what is it about him? And it's like, he seems to be really transparent with who he is as a person. He's working on himself in the gym. He's self-made. He speaks about his family so highly. He's looking after his body. He's eating healthy food. He's super dialed in. He's lifting weights. And I thought, God, they're the things that, Carl Jung said, every ideal is a judge. And what he meant is, when we compare ourselves to somebody else, we put them on a pedestal. And you can choose to be envious of that person and be like, screw that guy, they have more than I can. Or you can be like, what is it about this person that I'm attracted to? Like, why does he get my bits of memory bank? Why does he live in my head rent free? Well, he's got something you want. He's acting in a way that is garnering you to be more than you are. And you can say, well, fuck that guy because he's privileged. Or you can be like, I'm going to be more like that. And the more that we trust our own moral compass to guide us, the more we realize, I think the more we step into the unknown and kind of step into things that probably in the past felt more scary and just drop our ego at the door and realize that we are not what we could be, then we step into a space where it's ours because it's led by us. Our body is telling us that we could be more. Not more because other people, I want Ferraris and Rolexes and living in Dubai. Like, sick. If you want that, dude, go for it. But I'd rather have a bus full of my friends,
Or jumping on a trampoline with a bunch of kids.
Jump on a trampoline with a bunch of kids. Yeah, God, core memory.
That's beautiful stuff, man. And it's funny you say that. I was in a similar situation. When I owned my gym, I used to look at what other gyms are doing, look at their social media, and I'd get like really jealous and be like, blah, blah. And a good friend of mine gave me the same advice. He's like, instead of looking at them with jealousy, look at them and be like, what do you like about what they're doing? And then take that and sort of make it your own.
Right.
So that really resonates.
I think a young man sees that as a young man, I definitely saw that as like, fuck that guy. He has more. I'm just like, I'll outdo him in another way. But like, that's ego, man. Like, the goal is to experience. And if you can learn from people that you should learn from people you hate as much as the people you love.
Yeah.
And
people you hate can be the biggest teachers, right? Because where do they trigger you? And then that's
so much more. Yeah, you would know this. Psychotherapy, like there is a reason your alarm bells are going off. You know? And if you don't just jump at the first angry or emotional piece of distress and snap back, there's a lesson in there. And I think as young men, there's probably too much pride and probably too much testosterone floating around to make us pause and self-reflect.
Yeah.
But the people that we hate, you know, I in that program, it's that, you know, I think 3 reels ago, you will learn way more about, like, the way to get, you're gonna learn what you want to do in your life by way more by finding out what you don't want to do than what you do want to do.
Yeah.
And finding out who are the people that you, like, you know, I work with people, man, like, I work with people that have had horrendous stories, you know, like, stories that you just you can't believe they're still standing. And I mean, it's a testament to the human spirit, right? But there is always something to learn from the people that have hurt them. And some of the biggest lessons from the people that I have worked with is that, like, I actually can't contribute to your lessons. I don't know anything. I can't even. What do you say to someone that's had a lifetime of childhood sexual abuse? That sounds really hard for you. I'm sorry you experienced that. Fuck no. I'm like, as a human being, I'm like, I have no idea what to say to that. And then we said, what do you not want to be? I don't want to be my father. I don't want to be my uncle. I don't want to be my mother, because my mother allowed that to happen. What do you want to be? I want to be kind and caring and compassionate and protective. I want to provide. I want to provide security. I want to be an embodying container for emotions for my children. I want them to feel they're safe. That's a goal.
I love that. And so you were discussing this concept, the heaven and hell concept, right? Get people to think about what they're running away from, but then also what they're running to. So you have both, right?
Yeah.
It's not either or, it's a combination of both.
Man, like, yeah, and I think, I can't even remember where I got that. You're just an amalgamation of things you pick up along the way, you know? I don't know where I got it, but everybody has an idea of what their life would be like if they were in hell. Hell is the place where the homeless man on the side of the street can't even look you in the eye. Hell is the place where you are so ashamed of your current standing, you do not want to reach out to people because you're embarrassed. And everybody, you know, most people know what that's like, and some people know it worse than others. Draw that.
So tell me, you mentioned, you know, other people going through hard times, and this isn't like the Trauma Olympics, but tell me about the hardest time that you've been through personally.
My 20s. Just spent so long hammering home the belief that I wasn't capable, that I wasn't enough. I wasn't enough for the girlfriends in my life who I had crushes on. I wasn't enough for my parents. I wasn't enough for my sister, who's a very beautiful girl. So are my parents. You know, it's no fault of their own. But the narrative inside my head was like, what you have to say is not of value. And I just meandered, you know. I floated through things. And looking back on it now, you know, there were many times where I went backwards, but they're just as valuable a lesson. But man, the 20s are hard because we finish school and every decision that we have made, almost for most of us, has been made for us. We put a birthday parties with friends that we don't want to be around. We're doing activities that we don't want to do. We're doing sports that we don't want to. We're tired. We don't want to go to school. And our parents, someone is pulling the strings behind it. We're exposing ourselves, or our parents are exposing us to things that we don't want to do. As a child, you would just sit on the ground and play with toys all the time. And you need to be pushed, you know, within a sphere, obviously, or a safe haven, as you call it. And then you get to your 20s and someone just throws you the keys to a fucking sports car. And they're like, learn to drive. And drive fast, because everyone else around you is driving fast and they know how to drive and you don't. So figure it the fuck out. And you're just like, every decision I make could crash the car. And it's a lie. It's not real. Everybody, I think I said this to you at the front, the only normal people are the ones you don't know very well. There are not people out there. I work with, you know, I've been in hospitals, groups of 10, 20, 30 people a week, like, or 10, you know, sometimes I see 40 or 50 clients, like including groups, and and even well people do. No one knows what the hell they're doing. They have an idea of direction and they are taking action and they are keeping the promises they make with themselves. But they do not know what it is specifically that they want out of their life. No one does. No one gets the Bible on that.
Yeah. I heard a Tim Ferriss podcast literally this week, and even a guy like Tim Ferriss, right? I'll just say to guys, like, we're all making up as we go along. Still, and that's obviously a very cheesy one-liner, but it's completely true.
I mean, that's the biggest lesson I learned in the corporate world was like, I'm pitching to people promises that there's no way I know how to bloody keep. You know, what the hell do I know about hiring 60 staff for a new chain of restaurants by the X month? I don't think we'll figure it out. You know, half the pitch. What's a startup pitch? You're pitching for VC funding and you have an idea of something, and you know, maybe you've got some go-to-market strategy, but like it's all fugazi, you know. And the people that get the furthest are the ones that pretend the most and continue to try and solve problems as they go. You know, but it's, you know, if your 20s aren't tumultuous, dude, you're not trying enough things.
Yeah.
Your only job in your 20s should be to try as many things as possible, because something will stick its head up and you will go, oh my God, I kind of like that. What did I like about that? What didn't I like about that? What does Socrates say? An unexamined life is not worth living. You're never going to get anywhere if you don't reflect on the things that enthused you or didn't enthuse you. And little by little, you hit the barriers that say, I don't want that anymore, and you move in a different direction.
Yeah. It's funny we're talking about this. I've had so many, like probably 3 or 4, I guess, when we discuss the 20s, they say chaotic, messy, but in the end, it's just perfect. And it's exactly what the one line of one of our guests said, the chaos was just perfect.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So,
yeah, the thing that I've been thinking, the line that I've been thinking about a lot recently is, nothing will go according to plan and it'll all turn out okay. And it's might be the bloody byline of my life, you know. Like, you told me at 18 or 17, you told me at 16, 17, 18 that I was going to be a clinical psychologist, I would have smoked another cigarette and spat on the ground in front of you, you know?
I love that, mate. That sounds like a nice book title, man.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Sam, I've noticed you get like quite emotional a couple times so far, both when you're sort of addressing that younger version of yourself. What's going on for you when we sort of look back at that Sam in his 20s?
Everything I do is for the younger version of me that didn't believe that he could. And it sounds so cliche, but I've already won. It's not about the followers. It's not about the run club or the views or the numbers. It's like Jordan Peterson tells this story, and every time I tell it, I cry. If you don't mind, I pivot.
Let's do it, man. I'll get the tissues out if you want.
He tells this story about, and I was driving in my dad's like shitbox, and he tells this story about how he's walking through like a bad part of LA with his wife. I think he was unwell at the time, and this beat up old Cadillac pulls up next to him, and he thinks he's going to get mugged. And this, you know, I think Mexican kid in a wife beater and baggy shorts runs around the car, pulls the car up and runs around the car. And his immediate thought is, I'm getting mugged. You know, I'm with my wife, we're going to get mugged. And he goes, you're Jordan Peterson. And the guy goes, he's like, yeah, yep, I am. And he goes, don't go anywhere. So he's obviously thinking, me and my wife are about to get mugged and beaten up or whatever. And he runs around to the passenger side of the car and gets a walker out. And his dad gets out of the car. And he said, I've been watching your videos on YouTube, and I've rekindled the relationship with my father, and we're going out today to have lunch. I'm driving down the car, and I remember screaming at the top of my lungs in this car, like, what more could you ask for? Like, what more could you ask for that the things that come out of your mouth have soothed the relationship between family members, or rebuilt a relationship between old friends, or, you know, calmed the storm between partners, like, all because you chose to put something that you spoke out into the world. And for so long, I never thought that anything that I could say or had to say was valuable. And I'm being proven wrong every day.
Yeah, in your inbox, in your DMs.
That's the most moving part, man. It's like, you know, I write 20 scripts a week, And I'm not just writing video scripts, I just write, and then they start as a page and then they get summarized into something more punchy because apparently that's what you need to do. But I'm trying not to give a shit about the algorithm. But the fact that something that could come from my own experience would hold the hand of another person around the world that I've never met it's the fucking gold mine, dude. Like, what else do you want out of this world? So I've won.
Well, yeah, that's sort of going back on your definition of success. And if I had to put it down to two things, it's like one, being your authentic self, and then two, like being able to help other people. Like both those things combined, like you said, you've already won. Like, dude, what else is there to do?
That's it, dude. Like, the most valuable thing you can give someone is your time. And I remember listening to that story and thinking, like, how the hell do you do this at scale? And the internet is the solution to that, you know. See one person for a 50-minute session, it's beautiful. Speak about many different things. And then my ADHD kicks in and I get another person. I'm really stimulated. Environmental change. I found the perfect profession.
Yeah.
But I just can't believe that I get to show up as myself and people find that helpful. And that's why it moves me, you know. Like, I don't have to pretend anymore.
That's beautiful, man. And so we spoke about this a little bit off air, but when's the last time you sort of surprised yourself?
Every day.
Okay.
Dude, when I finished school, I was the only short, fat Jewish kid at an all-boys Christian school, you know. And I wanted to be liked. I'm super extroverted. I'm 97th percentile extrovert. So people knew, like, would you want to be liked? And kids know that. God, they twist you pretty easily. You know, I'm not the quiet kid. I'm the loud kid. I'm in the front of everything, you know. And like probably gave as good as I got in many respects, and I'm apologetic for that. But, mate, yeah, it's unbelievable.
You mentioned your ADHD. We've had guests with ADHD, and it can actually be a superpower in some ways. So tell me how ADHD has been a superpower for you.
By allowing myself to be interested in the things that interest me and not shoehorning myself into a box that said I had to be, like, I think it's a friend of mine, Zach, a friend of ours at Run Club, Zach Pogrod, he writes like Nietzsche with an iron fist, you know. I think Nietzsche said, I can write in a sentence what it takes you a page to write, you know. And Zach does the same thing, and he said, he says, like, you have to believe you are the one, but you want to be a walking contradiction. Like, be a medical doctor who runs ultra marathons. You know, like, write 45 poems a week and post them onto social media, or send them to your partner, and I don't know, go surf in the Maldives or surf in Sri Lanka. Like, do contradictory things. And ADHD is that. It's like, if you allow yourself to be enthused by things and not scold yourself for going against the grain. Like, it's so funny. People try so hard to be normal, but like, have you seen the average person? Like, nobody wants to be the average. You want to be like everyone's superpower, and everyone's competitive advantage is that nobody will beat you at being you. And it takes a long time to accept that. It doesn't come in your 20s, you know, like, maybe if the things that enthuse me could enthuse another, however small that niche is, that could be the work. And ADHD is profound for that, right? Like, when are the times where I'm acutely engaged? Now, look, I played enough video games to kill a small child, you know, like, but there are functional things to do. There are more adaptive things to explore. And if you keep putting yourself in situations and environments that tickle your fancy, eventually something will spring its head up. I couldn't be a teacher. I would get bored in 8 hours of the day. So how can I be in an environment where I get to change the environment every hour? I see a person every 50 minutes. Yeah. I'm never bored. And it's funny, when I told my friends I was going to be a psychologist, the first thing they said was, you have to shut up. You know? And I was like, oh God, yeah. And for 2 years I'm like, am I in the wrong profession? But every session is a game for me to see how present I can be with that person. Because I know I want to talk all the time. Yeah. So if that is no longer a detriment that I bully myself for, but a game that I get to explore curiously, all I get to do is sit with the experience of another person and shut up.
Yeah, mate, I love that. And speaking of sitting with someone and getting curious, bit of a funny question, but if you could sit down with anyone dead or alive, I want to know who it would be, and I want to know what you'd be drinking.
Me from 10 years ago. Me at 23 or 22.
And what would you say to yourself?
Nothing is ever as bad or as good as it seems. And you can't lose if you don't quit. Just keep moving.
Yeah.
Just keep doing things. You just keep moving. At the gym, we talked about this before, at the gym that I'm at. I remember one time I think we did like a marathon ski on the roof at like an all-in, and I was fucking dying. Like, you know, you're doing a max effort for 20 strokes and then you pass it over and you got a minute rest and you do the same thing for an hour and 20 minutes, like just dying. I mean, you're a bulky lad. I'm sure you've done these type of workouts before in the gym. Like you just melt yourself.
Yeah, so the CrossFit stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember, like, you know, you're in the pain cave for 50, 60 minutes. And I remember Chris said to me, I don't care how slow you go, you're not stopping. And I thought, why am I emotional right now? I don't know. He's a phenomenal man. Like,
I had him on my original podcast, actually.
No way.
Back in the day, yeah.
Mate, that guy has an ethos that would break an iron chain. What he's built is the model that other gyms copy and have copied for 10 or 12 years.
Yeah.
And he's hard, but he's fair. And I just remember him saying, I don't care what you do. He yelled at me once for not starting the ski erg when it wasn't my turn. And me and the coaches joke about it now because there's nothing, I'd rather get scolded by my father, than the leader of the gym to be like, listen, you fucked up. And I'm like, I'm sorry. But he said, I don't care how slow you go, you're not going to stop. And I thought, God, isn't that that's all of it. That's all you ever need.
I love that. And that advice to the younger self is perfect, really. Tell me if you could sit down with anyone, first time we've asked this one, fictional character, who would that be?
Dumbledore. He has a quote in the book that I think about regularly, which is, I'm rereading Harry Potter because it helps me get to sleep. And I've never been a big fiction reader. But he says that help will always be given to those who ask for it. And I'm the product of the people that I have asked for help, And the product of the people that I was too proud to ask for help, The people out there are people out there who will give you their time. And I think it's such a huge lesson that we do not teach people enough. But one of the things that I hear most often is that the people don't want to be a burden to their people. They don't want to call when they need help. They don't want to ask for a shoulder to cry on. And that's wrong, because the assumption is that the other person will also not get something out of that interaction. And let me tell you, there is nothing more rewarding to me than being an outlet for people that need it. To be the fucking burden. Extend the olive branch, ask for help, and don't listen to respond or to fix, but just to be curious and sit in the experience of another. Go on. I'm here. Tell me more. And then what? Say more.
That's a very important point, man, because I think naturally, and this is something I've had to work on in my older age, is when someone comes to you with a problem, we want to fix it. Have you tried to do this? Quit your job, break up with a girlfriend, et cetera, et cetera. So just giving them space to just let out whatever they need to let out, and not judging and not forcing advice down their throat.
I mean, you got kids.
Yeah, 2 kids.
How well does that work when you solve the problems immediately for them and they're having a tantrum, it's such an underappreciated lesson. Just shut up. It's so much more valuable. I think Irvin Yalom says silence holds the keys to the unspoken words of the client. And there is so much more in what is not said than what feels needed or what feels necessary to be said. and that masculine urge to solve and fix. Just most of the time is not what people want. And you can ask. People are afraid. Like, you can say, do you want me to help me solve this problem, or do you just want me to listen? I go, I just want you to listen. I'm like, fuck yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I've got time for that. And people don't know how, listening's hard. When I teach people this in therapy, like, the aim of every conversation should be for you to repeat back to them what they said to you and them to say, yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Before you even inject any of your own stuff. And your relationships will flourish because most people listen to respond. And it's not their fault.
Yeah.
But the depth comes from not feeling a need to, you know.
Yeah, paraphrasing and, just making sure you're on the same page.
100%, dude. Like, there is nothing more sacred than being felt. Or sorry, there's nothing more sacred than being held.
Yeah. And it's funny, I think the first time I learned that was for sales.
Right.
It's because they teach you to get on the be super clear with who you're trying to sell to.
Yeah.
Is this sound right to you? Did you just say this? So reflecting back to them.
Yeah.
But
and even in the sales dynamic, right? Like, obviously there's an outcome. There's something that you're trying to achieve there, but I'm sure you've had sales calls where you feel like, God, that was a bloody great conversation. Like, even if you didn't get the outcome, I remember doing this.
people who are really curious.
Yeah, you're genuinely curious, right? Like,
and they're genuinely trying to solve a problem for you. They're not forcing something down your throat. They're just trying to figure out where you're at.
Yeah, and that was my problem when I was in sales. Like, we're doing this startup thing. Like, I would just sit on a Zoom call that was meant to be a sales call for 40 minutes, and I'd be so enthused by the conversation I couldn't close because I was like, I feel bad selling them
good
something.
Good talker, but not a good salesman, man.
Yeah, just like I felt guilty for selling them something. I just wanted to keep asking about their life. And I'd remember their kids' birthdays and I'd send them flowers and we'd book dinners, and I was just like, oh, this is so great. And they're like, you're not hitting any of your targets. I'm like, yeah, I don't like doing that. Yeah.
I love that. Now tell me, Sam, what is something you couldn't live without?
My friends. The true test of friendship is people who don't scold you when you fuck up. And they sing in your wins like they are their own. And when something terrible happens, they don't call and they don't text. They appear. And there's nothing more important in the world than relationships.
Yeah.
Just
it's tricky because we live in like Sydney, a place where everyone's a go, go, go. It's hard to make time. I'm even finding as I'm older, kids, like I'm less time for people. Right. But there's a story I tell myself. I need to make more time. Yeah. But I do notice that it's a fast paced place. People are always busy. People have other plans months in advance. So it's something that I think everyone needs to work on a little bit, is cherishing those relationships.
And the gestures don't have to be grand, you know. Thought about you today, came to my mind. I'm writing a script and you're on my mind when I'm doing it. You know, my dad's a fucking phenomenal man. My dad is so selfless that he texts. One of the best things he gave me was to text other people telling them that it is a person's birthday. So my dad is famous for texting 50 people and saying, hey, it's, Auntie Shushi's birthday, and then forgetting to text the person.
Oh my God.
And they're like, why didn't you say happy birthday? He's like, well, I can't tell you that I did. And it's just like, yeah, he's a beautiful man. And it's something that I try to pick up. So when someone's birthday, I'm just like, hey, it's their birthday, And then, you don't have to organize a bloody party or whatever, but like thinking of it, people want to know that you're in their mind, that they're in your mind.
Yeah. And
it doesn't have to be your 4 weeks of your annual leave, just swim after work. I mean, the kids are bloody hard.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're the priority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure you're proud that they are the priority.
Yeah, totally, man. And everyone feels this in the same boat. A lot of my friends are parents now as well.
Right.
So tell me, Sam, I want to know about your best purchase under $100.
Fantastic question. Best purchase under $100. Gosh. Recently it's been a journal and a pen. Because I've never been the type of person to sit still, and just write. But we don't teach people how to think. Thinking is cognitively laborsome. Same as worrying. That's why people worry. Like, worrying makes us feel like we are solving a problem. And thinking is hard. Thinking is, I have this thought in my mind and I have this thought in my mind and I'm going to battle them out and then I'm going to let that one die and I'm going to move forward with that thought. People don't do that. People just have thought and then a thought and we don't answer. We have another thought. And writing is thinking in the real world, And it's so bloody cathartic.
Yeah, it's one thing I recommend to any of my friends who are struggling. It just seems so simple, but you get so much out of it.
Mate, 100%. Like the one of the most profound bits of work is by a guy called James Pennebaker, who has these writing tools, and he got students to write for 15 minutes about the most traumatic experience in their life, and they ran it through universities, and what they found was that you could reduce the dropout rate in, I think it was first generation immigrant students, by 70%, 50 or 70% by writing out the experience of not why are they there, but just like unpacking who they are, about how and there's no grammar, no full stops, no spelling errors, no spell check. You just write. And the more viscerally relive the experience, which is just kind of narrative therapy or like trauma reprocessing work, the more visceral and upsetting the reliving of the experience, the better the outcomes. So there is something so incredibly freeing about having nothing else to do but empty your mind. There's times where I'm up at night and I can't stop thinking, and my partner would be like, get out of bed, write it down, I'm straight to sleep. Just the physical getting it outness is so powerful. Doesn't have to make sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just write a list of questions. I don't even know the answers to them. Eventually I realize when I'm beating myself up, I'm like, it's time to stop. Go from like a nice experiential, like curious way to end up like, depending what mood you're in, you end up just bashing yourself. But it's powerful.
So highly recommend journaling, obviously, for anyone listening. Now, if you could tell the people, if you could give one piece of content that's going to change someone's life today, it could be anything. It could be a book, it could be a podcast, it could be a YouTube video.
I'm not a big YouTuber. This is something I need to do. Like I don't have a television.
Yeah.
Which is not a flex. I just don't want it to be the centerpiece of the room because I think it's ugly.
Yeah.
So, I still watch like stuff on the laptop. But most important thing, biggest piece of life advice. Look, the most profound book and my most gifted book, which is a good Ferris. He said, "What's your most gifted book?" Not the one you read the most. Is A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl and Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Every time I find myself in a hole, I go back to the Greeks. And not to read, Ryan Holiday's stuff's really good. The Obstacle is the Way is a fantastic book, but I go to the root. Sit in a park and read a sentence that hits you like a freight train. And it's bloody 1,000 years old. You're just like, what is that? It's 1,500 to 1,400 years old. And
It's still relevant today. It's crazy, isn't it?
How the hell is that guy having the same problems as me 1,500 years ago?
The human experience is so much more in common with other people than what we think.
Nothing new under the sun, my friend.
1,000 years later.
Dude, James Clear made a bloody mozza, and all he did was talk about Skinner's behavioural practices and how you can habit stack and reduce distress with gradual exposure. He just took 60 years of exposure research and put it into layman's terms. Now he's a bloody millionaire.
Yeah.
There's nothing new here. We've been doing this for generations. And when I find myself in a whirl of pain, there's something comforting about a person that I idolized 1,500 years ago going through something similar to me. Yeah. We're all just humans. So Meditations and A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Yeah, love them both. Meditation's one of my favorites for sure.
Cracking book, man.
Yeah. Tell me, do you remember the best piece of advice you've ever been given, and who might that have been from?
But the quote that sits in my mind all the time is, I think it's either Peterson or Adler. And he says, you could be more than you are. It's just a fact. You're not what you could be. And I want people to know that there is no magic within me, I said this at the start. There's no I hold no special skills and I have no cherished outcomes, which is a quote by Elizabeth Gilbert, but there is no end to what you could become if you kept trying. And the fact of the matter is, if you keep trying, it makes it yours. But the wisdom that sits within you and the knowledge that you've picked up upon the way, even if it's someone else's, is interpreted by you in a way that other people will experience and resonate with. And you just need to have the courage to share it.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks that they don't know what the hell they're doing, or that they don't have value, or that they're not smart, or they're not fit enough. And or you could start.
Yeah. The answer is to keep doing, right?
You just keep going, man. And if you keep going and you iterate, and the more that you fail and the more that you iterate and the more that you reflect, fail. The more that you iterate and reflect on that, the more you realize, God, I liked some of that. I didn't like some of that.
Yeah. I love the quote. I don't know. I think it might be some athlete. No such thing as failure. You either win or you learn, right? Something I try to live by as well.
Yeah, inspiring people, man.
Yeah. All right, Sam, I'm sort of mindful of the time here. I've really enjoyed having you on. The way you articulate yourself is very poetic, just like, your social media. That brought tears to my eyes the first time I saw it.
Thank you very much.
If you could leave the people with one last thing, what would it be?
I don't know about the best piece of advice I've been directly given. There is no glory to be found in chasing other people's desires. You just end up on a path that you don't want to be on. Doesn't matter what it means to other people.
Yeah.
Create for you, learn for you, express for you, talk to you. It's the biggest competitive advantage.
Being you.
Nobody is going to beat you at being you.
I love that, my friend. What a way to finish. If the listeners would like to follow you, follow the Run Club, how can they find you on social media?
At Smo & Co, SMOEANDCO, which is funnily enough because just before it all blew up, I was like, I'm going to change my Instagram name to just Sam Dreyfus. Now it's kind of stuck, so just stay there. And then Unofficial Run Club, 5:45 on a Friday morning, come down, make a friend. It's important to note, there's so many, we get hundreds of messages from people being like, I'm socially anxious, I won't be able to run the route. Will I meet someone? People are going to be kind to me? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
You need to have skin in the game. And everyone's anxious the first time they do something about anything. Real second podcast, shit scared in the car beforehand. And show up for yourself. No one else is going to do that.
Yeah.
5:45 underneath the Harbour Bridge, Milson's Point. Come and make a friend.
Might have to get there, man.
Come down, make a friend, and then come back and make another friend.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love it, man. Well, it was a beautiful conversation. I got so much out of it personally. If you guys listen this far, I hope you did too. Share it with a friend. You can have a positive impact on someone's day. Review us on iTunes, Spotify. Really helps us get some more exposure, get some great guests like Sam on the show. And mate, thank you so much for coming on. This has been the longest. Usually I try to end it at an hour, let it run a little bit further because the conversation was going so well. But love to have you back on eventually.
Thank you so much.
Mate, I appreciate your time.
And you, thank you for having me.
Pleasure meeting you. And thank you so much for listening, guys. Peace.